Hello and welcome everyone again to another one of my conversational interviews. Really excited who I'm chatting with today. If you're wondering, who's this lady? So this is Natasha, and I've been following Natasha on Instagram, and everyone, you're going to love the fact that even though she's a host of her own magazine, radio, background and journalism and all this fun stuff she's going to tell you about more. She has her own magazine show on Rogers TV called In Studio. And what really drew me to Natasha is the fact that even though she has her own show and she has all this amazing things she does, she is keeping it real. And as you know, everyone who watches this show, this is what our conversational interview is about, just keeping it real and realizing that we go through the same struggles, we face the same challenges, and we celebrate life. And it doesn't matter, if you're a huge influence, doesn't matter if you're a small influence, doesn't matter who you are, but realizing that we all are on the same journey. And that's why, I've been following Natasha and found her very inspirational and decided to, reach out and say, Natasha, I'd love to have you here. And she, smiled with a yes. So thank you so much, Natasha, for being on my conversational interview podcast. I'm really looking forward to this. The fact that you're a storyteller, you have your own show, and just being a really appreciative of life, appreciative mom. And I love how you stated that you're an underappreciated mom, because I know a lot of us,
we all are,
can feel this way. So Natasha, I know our audience is, really wanting to know who you are, and can you please share that with our listeners today?
Well, I'm a mom of three. I have three daughters, and like you said, I have a background in broadcasting. So I have been working in television since I was 19.
Wow.
I started at CTV, and I worked there for 10 years. And then I've hosted a few shows locally here in Kitchener-Waterloo, and I also write for some digital publications. I guess I like having a voice, right? And I know that, like you said, whether you are, an influencer with thousands of followers, or an influencer with 500 or 600 followers, or someone with their own TV show, or even just a parent in your community, it's important that you think about the messages that you're delivering and the topics that you choose to discuss, because somewhere along the line you are influencing somebody, right?
Love
it. So
it.
it's really important to me, especially with three daughters, and we've talked about this, to be coherent of the messages that I'm delivering. And I think this is, new to us as a generation of parents, to really try and be more aware of what we're saying and what we're putting out there, and the role models that we are to our kids, right? So to me, that audience is the most important audience. It's my kids. So. Yeah.
I love how you said, and you pointed out that, when we look at generations, the way we were raised and what was out there is so different. I mean, when you look at social media, right, it's such a huge influence to these young minds of our children, right? And the fact that we have to realize as moms that we are their biggest influence. I mean, our parents were too, but it's on a different level. You don't have all these outside influences that exist now. And, I love the fact that you said you are steering your daughters in the right way. I'm steering my daughter and son the right way. And, it's not only what you say, but it's your actions.
What you do.
What you do, how you talk about yourself, how you look at yourself. It's a huge impact. And I'm really happy that you pointed that out, Natasha. That's great. And, you mentioned community, and that really caught my ear when you mentioned, so your community, what's out there, and loving the community and supporting it and letting people know what's out there. So going forward with that, looking at the community and your profession, how do you continue to thrive and live the passion that you do have, Natasha?
I think that talking about the transition that I'm currently making from television to PR is it's all related, and it's all directly related to my community. I think that there are so many people out there who have a really positive story, a positive message.
Yeah.
They have journeys that they need to share. And I think whether that's through television or that's through, digital publications or speaking engagements or events, I really wanted to be able to cover all of that. So that's why I'm making that transition.
Nice.
Because I do love my community, and Waterloo Region specifically has so much to offer, and so many amazing people who deserve to have a voice. So that's really been what's propelled me to keep going and have this passion for communicating.
That's so nice. You are giving someone permission and having them believe in themselves that they have a voice. Because especially as women, right?
Yes.
We have fears, we have excuses, we don't believe ourselves, we don't give ourselves permission to go forth. And the fact that you're stepping in there and you're saying to them, look, you have value, you have this, amazing message. I want to help you give yourself a voice so people can, people in the community can turn to you and know that you're important. So I think that's really strong. That support system that you offer women and other people in the community. Because do you find, Natasha, that when you give them that opportunity and you show them and tell them like you are valid with your message, you like believe in yourself, do you find they just suddenly they're glowing and they're so thankful that you're there telling them that and guiding them along?
I find a lot of times, specifically with women, and I don't just want to tell women's stories, but I find a lot of times they're surprised, and I think they assume that because I am a woman and I am in broadcasting, and a lot of that is about vanity, right? I think they assume that I wouldn't want to lift them up. I wouldn't want to share that they're just as unique and just as important as I am or any other woman in my life. So I find the biggest reaction that I get a lot of times is, oh, why are you helping me? Like, that's so nice of you. And it's like, why wouldn't I? And it's such a great feeling to have someone go, okay, so she's not competitive. She wants to see me succeed. And I genuinely do. And I want my daughters to be like that with their friends and their mentors as well, right?
And it goes back to, again, we're stronger as a community supporting each other than we are trying to do it alone. So the fact that you're saying, you know what, like, let's send this out here and, and them changing the whole way, I think you really open the door for them and help them realize that, oh, I guess my message is important. Because sometimes we can think, should I continue with this? Am I doing the right thing? Is anybody listening? Is it important that I'm doing, like, I really love what I'm doing, but does anybody else get it, right? And then when you approach them, it's like, let's do this, right? I mean, I've seen the people that you interview, and you can see it, that there's just something opens up about them. Like, I've talked to them outside before, and then I see them on your show, and it's like, wow, I'm not seeing this like side of you. It's so great to see. So the fact that you bring that out.
They come a lot of times when people are about to be interviewed, and I'm sure you get this as well, they get really nervous. And they're like, I don't, like, 8 minutes, I don't know if I can, what if I don't know the answer? And I'm like, it's your passion. So as soon as you start, everything's going to be fine, I promise. And then afterwards, they'll be like, she's such a good interviewer. I was so comfortable, but it wasn't me. Right?
Oh my gosh, I get that.
Helping them tell their story.
You're right. I get that all the time. It's like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like, jiggle it out. It's like, we're just having a conversation. And it's just like you said at their end, they're like, this was so easy. Because you talked about what you love. It comes so naturally to you. So it's nice that you see that as well, and you recognize and you help them recognize that. So that is amazing. Now listen, Natasha, before I forget, I love the fact that you're saying, look, I want to be here and allow people in the community to give a voice. So if people are like, can I reach out to Natasha, just talk to her? How can they
Mm.
find you, and can they, do this, and how can they do this?
So I love when people reach out to me with their stories, because I have many outlets that I'm able to tell these stories. So if it's not through in studio, it can be, through writing, or,
Yeah,
attending public events, or
yeah,
what. I will find a way to tell your
yeah,
story. So
yeah.
the best way to do that, I think, is to go to natashamckenty.com.
Hmm.
And then if you go under the contact, the email is sent directly to me. But I'm not against someone coming onto my Instagram and
Yeah,
trying to contact me that way as
yeah,
well. Like, there's so many different ways that you can reach out now.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, listeners. If you're thinking, oh, I don't know, that is what I did. I always say that, and I know you believe this too, Natasha's like, all they
Yeah.
can say is no. But if you don't reach out and you don't try,
Mhm.
then you're never going to get ahead, right? And again,
Mhm.
I think that really ties nicely into what you do. Is that's what I'm here for. That just reach out, and
And
it's
I think a lot of times the assumptions that we make are a lot worse than the
Mhm.
reality,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Yeah.
It
You
is.
think, oh, she's unapproachable, but that's not true.
Yeah, it's not true. You are so approachable. One thing too, Natasha, just because a lot of the audiences that listen to my conversational interviews are moms, and
Yep.
from a mom to mom, do you find too sometimes you question sometimes as well, like, was that the right thing to say to my kids, my daughter, like,
Yes.
was it okay that I got upset? Was it okay that I told them the way I feel? Like I don't hesitate, because I think it's very important that my kids realize how I'm feeling, and I
Mm.
acknowledge and let them know it's okay for you to feel that way. But there's the odd time I said something and then a light will go off. It's like, oh, that was kind of hurtful. But yet they needed to hear it. Like, do you ever go through that as well?
I do. And, I mean, most days I go to bed with mommy guilt. So
No, no.
there's always something that you can overanalyze. But I come from, and I don't know about you, but I come from parents that really didn't think about any of that.
Right.
So, and, we were just told that, we did something wrong, and parents didn't worry about it, or we were
Hmm.
corrected. And it wasn't always the right way, but
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day that we know that our parents meant well.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, if I'm kissing and hugging them and reading
Hmm.
them a story and everything ends well at the
Yes.
end, that's the positive reinforcement. And I don't think there is a perfect parent out there who makes
Mhm.
perfect decisions all day long.
Yeah.
It's not. We're human.
Yeah.
So we have
Yeah.
to forgive ourselves, I guess.
Exactly. And I love the fact that, you said, because something I do too, is always end it on a positive note.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, you want to go to bed with good feelings, right? And waking up in that,
Mm.
and realizing that, there's nothing hurtful in what maybe we say or steer, but
No.
it's how you end your day. And
Mhm.
it's even those nonverbal, again, going back to those nonverbal messages, letting your kids that know that I'm here for you if you need to talk.
Yeah.
I have a listening ear. I'm not going to get up, make judgment calls. I'm going to let you know how I feel, but I'm not going to judge you. And the fact that, we're here to support each other and love each other, and we're going to end it on a positive note. So I love that you
Yeah.
do that and carry forth that message and do that with your family and your kids as well. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I'm sure the listeners and audience are like, okay, this is good to know.
Yeah. I mean,
um,
at the end of the day, we all mean well, right?
yeah,
So,
we do. We
mm,
do. And I love the fact too that you always, you find the positive in the day, and you have real gratitude for the life, because in today's world it can be so stressful, and the fact that you are grateful for life and what you have in your life, I think, is a really, really
it's
powerful thing.
huge, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was raised by, specifically, my dad was a very, very grateful person. He was a
Hmm.
minimalist. He had
Hmm.
very little, and he saw so much in the little that he had. And I think that is everything in life. It can't
Yeah.
be about, especially with social media, right? It
Uh-huh.
can't be about what someone else has or what you wish you had. It has to
Hmm.
be about what you have, because
Yeah.
you never know. You never know when what you have could change very quickly.
Oh,
right?
definitely.
There are no solid guarantees that everything's going to be perfect all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So,
If
yeah,
everything was perfect, that would not be good anyways, right?
no, it would be boring,
It would be, right?
right?
We
It would be
learn from
so
our,
boring.
yeah, yeah, and we learn from our failures to
Yep.
succeed, right? Exactly. So yeah, that gave me goosebumps because it's true, right? It's recognizing, loving the small things, not necessarily
Yes.
huge things, because it's the small things that remain with you and
Yeah.
stay with you and what you're grateful for. So
Hmm.
uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So Natasha, as we're coming to the close of this conversational interview, there's 3 questions I ask everyone I talk to. And one of these first questions I'm going to ask is, what is a quote that you
Mhm.
absolutely love and live by?
The quote that stands out to me, and I've thought of it my entire life when
Yeah,
when I go through anything, is
yeah,
that he who lives in a glass house should not throw stones. And I think it's just a reminder that we are all imperfect. So
yeah,
none of us should throw stones
yeah.
because we all live in that glass house. And if a
Yeah.
stone comes back at us, it's not a good thing.
No, it's not. That's a great
No,
one. I've never heard that quote, but that's a really good one. I
it
like
just
that.
really, I don't know. I heard it when I was really young and
Yeah,
it stayed with me forever. It's just such a,
wow.
it's so clear. It's a clear quote that really tells you, you know what, we all should not throw stones because we're not
Yeah,
in the position to do so.
yeah. Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
that is applicable in so many ways, right? It's the way we think, it's our words, like excellent.
it could be anything. It could be actions.
Yeah,
It could be words.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Mm.
So, what's number one advice, Natasha, that you can share with our listeners and audience today?
I would say for me, like the one piece of advice that I always tell myself is to remember your passions because I
Mm,
feel like to be truly happy in life, you really have to follow your gut and do what it is that you were meant to do.
yeah,
And for me, I mean, I'm not by any means famous, but I always knew that I wanted to have a voice and I wanted to be able to communicate, and that's why I've been able to reinvent myself throughout my life and have a clear path because I know exactly what I want
mm,
and I stick to that, you
nice,
know. And I
nice.
think that's true happiness when you find that path that you belong
Yeah,
on and you stick to it and
yes.
even as a mom of 3 kids, I'm still doing it, right?
So true, right? Is live
Mhm.
your passion. Live your
Yeah.
passion. Oh my gosh, that's so, so true because too many people do not, right?
Mm.
And even if you do it on a side note, like just you feel just so fulfilled when you can do what you believe in and talk
Mhm.
about what you believe in. So,
Mhm.
yeah, more people need to do it. I totally agree with that. Now, Natasha, you cannot include your family on this one, okay? If this was the last day of your life,
Mhm.
what is the one thing that you would be grateful for?
You know, I ask myself this a lot, especially when I'm making big decisions in my life, and especially when they involve my children. I
Mhm.
always have this thing where I say, okay, so when I'm on my deathbed, will I look
Yeah,
back on this and will I
yeah,
regret this?
yeah, yeah.
And that's how I've been able to stay driven, stay on my path, and find where it is that I truly achieve happiness. And I think
Mhm.
that that's what I'm most proud of is that, we all abandon ourselves at some point in our lives.
Yeah,
We all put others, especially moms, will put others before ourselves.
yeah.
But I think what I'm most proud of is that I've never felt competitive with other women.
Nice.
I've always wanted to help them achieve, and their success makes me just as happy as my own success.
Mhm.
And I achieve that because I've stayed true to my dreams and my passions. And as a result, that's made me a better parent, that's made me a better wife, that's made me a better friend. But believe me, I've had my moments where I've tripped and fell and I had to pick myself up. But
Yeah,
I'm honest about it with people, and I
yeah,
think that's also what I'm most proud of is that I've always been
yeah.
able to, admit my defeats, admit my faults, and hopefully been a more likable person because of it. I
That,
don't know.
yeah, that's a really good message, Natasha, because we get stuck in our defeats, we get stuck in our failures, we question why it happens. But you know what? You get yourself up, you dust yourself off, and okay, you're going to question yourself. It's like, okay, stop, right?
Mhm.
Stop being stuck in that and move on and say
Yeah.
that that's something I learned. So, and being honest,
Yeah.
right? Being honest.
And the nice thing about aging is that a lot of that really falls into place. The older you get, you
Yeah.
stop worrying about the small things and you
Oh my
start
gosh.
realizing what's really important in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so true, right? When we're young,
Yeah.
we think we have the world and you see life
Yeah.
different. I think once you become, like you said, older and you become a parent, you see the
Mhm.
world so different. And I always remember
Yeah.
growing up, I thought about my parents like, what are you talking about, right? I'm never going to say that or do that. And now I'll catch myself as like, oh my gosh, they were so right.
I know. Yeah, I go through that with my 12-year-old on a daily basis.
Oh
And
my gosh. Oh my gosh.
someday you're going to see that I was right. And
Oh
I
my
will be
gosh.
there.
No kidding. Oh, let's not talk about those 12-year-old hormones.
It feels like yesterday for me, actually. I can remember it very well.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true because I know, my son's 16 and I was just talking with my husband the other day in the last, like he just turned 16 in last week. And I'd say since September, we've seen a maturity all of a sudden in him.
Oh,
Like,
good.
it's like, wow, he's becoming like a young man, right?
Yeah.
And my daughter, I said to my husband, I was like, oh God, she's 12, going on 13, in January. And I was like, I can see things, how she is and things she's saying, like, I was just like
Yeah.
that. And it's like,
So was I. Yeah, I get it.
oh my God. Yeah, I get it. But I don't know
Yeah.
if it was to that extreme sometimes. I don't know.
Oh, I was. Yeah.
Oh
I was
my
pretty bad.
gosh. Yeah, yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
But listen,
That's some
Natasha. Yeah,
creative
yeah.
people, right? She's creative. So
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
give her that.
creative. That's good. Well, you know what? We always said it's good that you and I have brought our kids up in a household where they feel strong enough to stand up,
Yes.
because it's something they're going to need once they're out there in the real world. Like they're still learning. Look, there's still boundaries here because
Mm-hmm.
you can't
There
get
has to
whatever you
be.
want. You can't say whatever you want because in the real world, there are boundaries, and we're setting you up for success, right? We're
Yes.
setting you up that realize that there's going to be things that you're going to come across, and this is how you're going to have to deal with it. But at the same time, we want to let you know that we want you to stand for what you believe in and stand for what you feel as well, and not be afraid or hesitant to
Mm-hmm.
give yourself, again, where we said give yourself a voice. So I
Yep.
think, in
Absolutely.
closing, I feel that really ties our conversation together really nicely, saying give yourself a voice,
Absolutely.
allow your kids to have a voice,
Mm-hmm.
allow other women and other people in the community, give them that opportunity to have a voice.
The biggest message that I want my kids to take away from my life is that women don't compete.
No,
We
no,
don't have to compete. There's not one prize.
no,
Everybody can succeed and find that success
yeah,
without, when you watch someone succeed, it doesn't take anything away from you.
no,
And that's a tough lesson, especially, with social
yeah,
media and some of
yeah,
the messages that are out there.
yeah.
So,
It's true.
mhm.
Take something that you admire about that person instead of being jealous about them. Take something you admire and apply it to your own life and make yourself
Exactly.
stronger. Yeah,
And bring yourself closer to the people like that, because the
yeah,
people you surround yourself with really dictates your own happiness.
yeah, yeah. And
Mhm.
keeps you on that positive gratitude journey.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Natasha, for
Thank
this
you.
time and for your time. I really, really love this. And I know our audience is going to love this because you have so many important, vital messages that I'm
Yeah,
glad you were open and sharing with our audience today. So
absolutely.
everyone, yeah, so everyone here, thank you as well again to listening to another one of my conversational interviews. Remember, I love your comments down below. Give me your feedback. I always love replying. And thank you so much for sharing these important messages. Have yourself a wonderful day, everyone. If you're watching this on YouTube, on the right-hand side, subscribe. And we'll catch you next month again for another conversational interview with another positive woman out there sharing a valuable message. Have yourself a great day, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.